just like that, it's a new year. I know you're probably very bored with it already. What a start to the year. My God. Talk about apocalypse now. Hello, everybody. I'm Russ Kane. This is the Midday Show. Longie Long will be along in a bit when he can get out of bed. Or I don't know what he does. I don't keep up to his schedule. Anyway, got a fabulous guest. Courtesy of Neil, I have to say. Courtesy of Neil. Hope you're all well. Hope you're all having a fabulous time. Before I do anything else, to all my friends and our friends out in California, where I've spent so much time. I know those roads, I know those valleys, I know those canyons so well. To all of you, for those of you who have lost, I'm so sorry. For those of you who are, in fact, like my friend Gloria Miller and so many others, and Marcella Detroit and all the gang who are like getting evacuation notices, then it's coming down. We send you our love. We send you all our very, very, very best to you. To everyone who's been affected. I didn't realize how many people I knew out there. It was quite extraordinary, but we send you so much love. Watching it, it looks like it looks like a Michael Bay movie, doesn't it, really? Not being helped by the idiots turning it into AI movies. That's so cruel. And as for the people putting on fire uniforms and looting, shoot them. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him. You love him. Before we bring in our guest, time to wish a happy new year. I know it's a bit late in the year, but I got to do it. Neil Longie Long.
There
he is with a mirror.
Have we not said Happy New Year to each other yet?
No, we haven't. You've never liked me, and I've just had to learn to live with it. Why have you got a mirror growing out of your head?
Well, it does it that way, doesn't it?
Do one of those. Got a hat on. That was slightly better. It just looks like you're wearing some sort of sci-fi hat, you know, from Dune 2 or something.
Actually,
like
if I do this, I look like a kind of a Norse god, don't I? If I kind of.
Well, only if you live near the Tolworth Tower.
Maybe not so much. Happy New Year! I cannot believe that we haven't said Happy New Year yet.
No, we haven't. Well, Happy New Year to you, Neil. Bless you for holding the fort while I've been running around like an idiot. Now, we got loads of comments. Hang on, Dr. Ritz. If anyone does the joke, it must drive her crackers, you'll get sued. Kimmy Lashmar Square, hello. Big question, where's your Christmas tree? Because we know about you.
None of your business.
Robert Van Buren, RVB, hello, Russ and Neil. And an Orsk. Right. You should do the introduction because this is your guest and I'm tagging today. Go on.
Well, I am really proud to introduce a fascinating guest. We talk about well-being quite a lot on this show, and I'm very, very happy to introduce our guest today, known as Dr. Ritz. Hello, Dr. Ritz. I'm going to put you in the top right-hand corner. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hi, Neil. Hi, Russ. How are you both?
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You're a doctor, so you will know the answer to this. When is it okay to stop wishing people a Happy New Year? Like October, maybe?
Whenever it feels right for you.
Okay, I'm done with it now.
There we go.
I'm done with the New Year.
I think you were done about 1 minute past 12 in January the 1st.
Do you know what happened? Dr. Ritz? New Year, people said, how's New Year? I said, well, I went in and broadcast on another radio station, Talk Radio, came home by bus and tube, or tube and bus, had my dinner at 9:30, lay down on the sofa. The next thing I knew, it was 6 o'clock in the morning.
You slept right through it.
I did, thank God.
I, however, was playing obscenely loud music in a pub out in Surrey and having a great time doing it. But that's just me. Welcome to the show, Dr. Ritz. Tell us a little bit about you, because we talk a lot about mental health and well-being on this show and all that sort of thing. Yeah. And you seem to be putting out an awful lot of really good and accessible, I would say, work into the world. So tell us more.
Sure. So I'm a consultant counselling psychologist. I trained in the UK, trained in the NHS, and I found that I was very defined in terms of the work I could do. So I ended up making a move to work privately. But whilst I did that, I still wanted to make mental health and therapy to accessible as many people as possible. So I tried to do as much pro bono work as I could. I then moved from London to a lovely rural part of the world in Leicestershire called Market Harborough.
Oh, nice.
Lovely.
Nice.
Beautiful. And, you know, life changes, had some kids, got married, had some kids. And, you know, I think mental health really just gets either taken for granted, it becomes a privilege, we don't know much about it. There was a bit of a boom after COVID about, you know, kind of thought, you know, online they were mental health experts. And so I kind of dipped my toe in the ring of social media and mental health, dipped my toe back out, and then thought, actually, you know what? No, I need to take ownership of this. I'm a trained professional, and actually I need to take my seat at the table. And so, you know, for a long time, when I have been seeing my clients or my patients in hospital and therapy, whatnot, I've always recommended journaling. I found that it's a fantastic way to consolidate the thinking that's done in the therapy room, to make sense, to have a bit of an idea of moving forward, to understand your triggers, understand what it is you want. Rather than feeling like life is dictated to you. I think people often come to therapy because life has felt very much dictated to them and they felt out of control.
Now that's interesting. I mean, there's so much we can break down from this already. Fascinating. You said, just going back a little bit, that you felt very kind of, I think contained was the word that you used. If I'm wrong, correct me, in what you could do. Was it very limiting, the paradigm you were operating in?
That's it. It was very, very limited. It was like, you can only see somebody for this number of sessions and that's it. And, you know, if you think about it, if I was only seeing someone for 6 to 12 sessions, yes, they're going to get something out of it. But also I felt like sometimes I was unzipping people a bit too far in that time. You know, really, it's only like 6 to 12 hours. How much are you really going to get to know someone in 6 to 12 hours?
When you say, I used to live in America, and their idea of, I'm not even going to call it counseling, really, but they'd see psychiatrists. But their notion back when I was living there, they would completely deconstruct this person and then rebuild them. And I would see my colleagues in the agency where I worked, and they'd be in the process of, they were in kit form. I mean, they couldn't function at all. So I love the fact you think you may have, you call it beautifully unzip them. I call it deconstructing them, and like cheerio. And especially if they went on holiday or something in the middle of this process, it was brutal. I didn't agree with it at all.
I mean, Christmas time is a really good example of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've unzipped you, now go and deal with the family.
Have a lovely time, see you in a few weeks, right?
Yeah, I don't think in 6 probably 50-minute sessions you can really do a lot. It's an ongoing relationship, isn't it? Because I had some therapy and it was ongoing, you know, a long time, an hour a week, for a very, very long time. I couldn't have, you know, dealt with it in 6 to 12 sessions.
It's impossible.
And you talk about people's triggers. Everyone, I guess, has triggers of some sort. Yeah.
Absolutely. If you don't have triggers, you're not human. So we're all human. We're all going.
Oh, that makes us feel much better. Now, what is explain to Longie probably knows. I know the square root of nothing. Journaling, writing down how you're feeling. I'm taking a stab at it. I don't know.
Yeah, there's lots of different ways to journal. Lots of different ways out there. You can do free form journaling. You can do brain dumping. So brain dumping is like a 30-minute segment that you just give yourself. Open your journal up and just whatever is in your brain, literally dump it out.
No matter what it is.
No matter what it is, and then you can organize it into categories after. There's lots of different books out there as well. So I would often tell, as I was saying, my clients, you know, journal. And they'd start it and they'd feel really good about it. And then it just became one of those things that it falls to the back of the bedside drawer, or it comes back out again in January, you know, when everyone's like, new year, new me, that's it. I'm going to get
no. New me, same old. New year, same old me.
So you know, for a few years, I thought, why don't I come up with an app then? Why don't I come up with a journal app? You know, people use their phones.
Oh.
But then, you know, the same thing, I recommend people use Headspace and Calm for mindfulness. And it's the same thing. They use it when they're in distress.
Yeah.
But what I tend to see is people don't have good dental hygiene and mental hygiene. So they've got good dental hygiene. They
If
know
only you could floss your brain, it would be
this is it.
fantastic. Wouldn't it be marvelous?
But this is
God,
what
yeah.
my Reflect with Dr. Ritz journal is all about: brain flossing.
Great question coming in. I'm sorry, Dr. Ritz. Sounds silly, doesn't it? When I say that to you, I feel like I'm being rude. Brian Kingsford says this: does dealing with other people's it's a great question. Other people's mental health ever affect your own mental health? How do you put the shutters down?
So as part of my training, and this is why I loved doing the counselling psychology training here in the UK, you have to be in therapy yourself for a minimum of 3 years during the training. So it really helped me to unpack my stuff and know what was mine, and go through that. And I had a fabulous therapist, you know, who remains in my heart till this day, and her voice goes with me.
As does mine. And she said she'd done therapy as well, because I guess you have to be in a fairly good place before you can heal other people. Otherwise, it seems to be the blind seeing the blind. When I did NLP, the blind leading the blind. When I did NLP, what I found was an awful lot of people. I don't know why Russ is laughing. What?
I tell you what. I'll come on in a minute. I'll explain why.
It seemed to be very wounded souls, all trying to sort of heal their own lives by healing other people. And to my mind, that would never work. You need to be kind of in a good place yourself before you've even got anything to give, I would have thought.
I'll tell you why I'm laughing. And it was a kind of more of a hilarity laugh.
Come on, what?
I'm so pleased that you said, like when I've had therapy, they had to go, people who were training with me had to be there because they were going to be therapists and psychoanalysts, etc., etc., etc. Because on the show, over the years, we've had all these people who said, I'm a life coach. And I'm thinking, no, you've got no training. This is, you know, you're probably bored of doing PR or interior decorating, and now you're going to give advice and be a quasi-therapist. I think it's incredibly dangerous. You're not qualified, and you don't know what the hell you're doing, with the greatest of respect, you know. I wouldn't take any advice from these people. They don't know what they're doing. They have no qualifications whatsoever.
And I think it's quite frightening because here in the UK, did you know that the term psychologist is not regulated?
Yes, I do know. I do, because this fellow, I don't know if you can see on the screen, Dave Sleet, who is a fantastic guy, runs a company, and we've had many discussions, he and I, over a coffee or on the phone or whatever. It's not properly regulated. You think it's regulated. It looks like it's regulated. It's not regulated at all. Shocking.
Yeah.
I feel very strongly.
So anyone can
about
essentially put their brass plate up and call themselves a psychologist. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
So
distinguishing from a psychiatrist.
So a psychiatrist is a protected title.
Yes.
Counseling psychologist, clinical psychologist, forensic psychologist, educational, they're again all protected titles. But if you're like an everyday member of the public and someone says to you, I'm a psychologist, like they say to you, you know, I'm a doctor, I'm a dentist, you're going to take that, aren't you?
Sure.
You're not going to think, oh, let me go and, you know, check their I hope people do now think I will go and check their credentials. Are they on a register? Are they with a governing body?
But when people are really, I was going to say down in the dumps, Jesus, when people are falling apart, they're not using their full mental capacity, nowhere near.
They're vulnerable. You know? They're vulnerable, aren't they?
So vulnerable.
This is what I found. I mean, I've been very open about this when I've been on the show. But I had a bit of a mental health blip about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago now, 5 years ago. God, 5 years ago. And I found that because I'm quite geeky and I like the science of it. It's basically the front of your brain shuts down, where all the sensible, you know, the prefrontal cortex shuts down, and that's where the common sense and sensible decisions come from. And if you're just operating from the limbic system, the emotional center, which is all over the place, not good, really not good. So you're right. People are in a very vulnerable place. And that's why I think it needs more than 6 or 12 sessions. So you were saying, so
back to the app. because I'm
back to the app. Back to the
yes,
app.
you see, we do listen.
We do
You think
go
we're
off
not
on
listening.
tangents here, but we always come back. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. And sorry, there was somebody who commented about supervision. That's it. So I have monthly supervision. I have a great network of people that I can reach out to. I have peer supervision. I've got a great family. I'm really lucky. I have a great family that allows me to just be me. And if I say to them, it's been too much today, they give me the space to decompress.
Which is exactly what you need. Exactly what you need. Yeah.
How few people do you know? Again, slight tangent, but not everybody understands that when you've had stress, whatever it might be, you do need to decompress. I love that phrase. I use that phrase a lot myself. And when people say, how did it go? What was it like? Da, 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 and you think, no, I right now, not that I don't like you, not that I don't love you, whatever. I just need just to be on my own. And then I'll come back and then we can talk about it. But people don't always get that, do they?
No. And as Neil was saying, there's neuroscience about why that happens. Oh. So your ability to have that conversation, that rational conversation, and think logically, and for your brain to put the pieces together, that's all going on in the prefrontal cortex. But when you're stressed, usually I would say about a level of a 6+, what happens is that shuts down. Something called the amygdala, that fires up. And then what happens is your ability to think, it's happened to me the other day. My son was saying to me, Mummy, can I have toast? Mummy, can I have toast? And I was just staring at him blankly. He said, Mummy, what are you doing? You're not responding to me. And I said, sorry, what did you ask me? And it was because there was things going on. And I had to take myself off, do a few deep breaths, come back. And I said, ask me again. He said, toast. And then I had to say, right, bread, toaster, butter. I've got this. I can do it.
And it's even the simplest. Hold on one sec, Liz. Welcome, but I think you've got some feedback. Do you want to check your microphones and go out and come back in again? Oh, here we go. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, she's sorting herself out. I know exactly what you mean by that, because when it was a state of constant stress. There was never any time to decompress. It was one thing after another thing. And the mind was thinking this way and that way and this way and that way, with seemingly no solution whatsoever, which is a state of, I suppose,
it's exhausting. It's
so any
exhausting.
Any kind of respite from that, any kind of thinking straight, and even like you say, I remember saying at the time, making a cup of tea seemed like climbing a mountain. Jeez. It really did. I mean, I'm much better now. I'm making goal lists and and all sorts and learning more.
Never drink tea at his home.
Or if you do, ask him to leave the tea bag in.
Back to your app, Dr. Ritz.
Yeah. Thanks for joining, Liz, by the way. Lovely to
Thank you. But it's not about me. It's about Dr. Ritz today. So
we know it is, but we can be courteous to our lovely colleague. We're allowed to do that.
So from that, Dr. Ritz was born because basically Dr. Ritz is about habit stacking. It's about what is everybody already using in their life and how do we habit stack on healthily to that. So the one thing I potentially think most of the world uses is WhatsApp. So I created a private, confidential, unmonitored journal subscription called Reflect with Dr. Ritz that is all delivered via WhatsApp. So what happens is it is a journal that helps you to rebuild your relationship to yourself, to think about your identity, who you are, who you want to be, where you want to go in this world, what you stand for. And it does that by every morning at around 6 a.m. or so, you get an affirmation that helps you to set your intention for the day. And that really is, what is the type of day you want to have? So for example, let me just, I'll pull up today's.
I'm loving this, by the way. Normally I'm terribly cynical about this, but I'm loving it. And I'll explain why in a minute.
So this morning's one is, my focus is a magnet. If I shift it to gratitude, possibility, and joy, I'm creating the life that I deserve. How are you going to make today count? So even if you have a blip throughout your day, right, which we all do.
Every day.
You go back to the message, you read it, you recenter it, it grounds you. It's like having a psychologist in your pocket.
Is it fair to say that you can, when you become pretty aware, like someone commented, your son clearly is very aware, but when we get a bit older, we can get a bit less aware. But when you become aware of these negative thoughts and feelings, is that a good time to catch yourself and go, wait a minute, pivot, let's go back to that, because it really is what I've learned about what we put our attention on.
Yeah.
And I've noticed we can scare ourselves witless with our own thoughts.
Every day.
This is it. So
Literally.
on
I've
average,
even done experiments with it. If something's happened, I thought, now let's see if this is just my thoughts. Has what's happened, what I worry about happened, actually happened or not? So I feel really bad. Thoughts are racing. And I think, no, let's just test it. 100% of the time, it's been my own thinking.
yeah, absolutely. And I think, when people come to me for therapy, they often say, I want to get rid of my thoughts. I have all these like negative thoughts and I want to get rid of them. And I said, well, that's not the goal, because, on average, you have about 60,000 thoughts a day, of which probably 80% aren't going to be great. And so the goal the goal is to not get rid of them. The goal is to do something which we call metacognitive thinking, and that's to become the watcher of your thoughts. So if imagine you're at Clapham Junction Station, trains coming in, out. Imagine they're all your thoughts. What I train people to do is to stand on the platform, notice that train come in, notice your thought come in, as you were saying, Neil, and then have the responsibility and the capacity to say, I'm just going to watch that, because eventually that thought's going to go. It's going to pull out. I don't have to do anything with it. I don't have to get on that train.
Well, this is what I find, but sometimes those trains can be bloody compelling. I mean, I've heard a similar analogy with leaves.
They're very seductive, Neil. That's the problem. They're very seductive.
Well, that's the thing. They are seductive. They are seductive. Sorry, Liz, I'll get a word in a second, but
I think Liz is enjoying this.
So it takes some discipline, I suppose, not to, because those thoughts, they kind of scream for attention, and the still quieter, call it inner guidance, quieter voice of reason, of wisdom, is kind of drowned out. But what you said, as the observer, this is sounding quite mindfulness-ish. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is basically mindfulness at its core. Yeah,
For
the
sure.
ability to respond rather than react.
When I learned NLP, we were taught the word responsibility with a hyphen in the middle. So ability to respond. So responsibility. So if you're engaging with those thoughts, you've got no responsibility because you're all caught up. But if you step back, you've got a bigger panoply to see, you've got a bigger smorgasbord to choose from, and you have a greater ability to respond rather than react and act the same way you always did before without anything new.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, Dr. Ritz, I've got to say this because it's a real bugbear with me, and Neil and Liz know it, and our viewers, audience all over the world know it as well. For 6 years, we had a radio station dedicated purely to mental health. And, we went to all these conferences and all these things, and everyone was going to help, and nobody helped. All the big players, they talk the big talk, all the big corporates. Yes, they did nothing. And eventually I thought, enough. What was that?
Physically,
sorry.
I'm in Budapest.
Oh, sorry. Message came on my phone. Beg your pardon.
Oh, and he tells off Liz. Anyway, right. Here's my point.
Sorry.
All these corporates. Yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. And we paid for it all ourselves. We it was self-funded. And eventually I thought, you know what? People are just exhausted from this. Let's lighten the whole thing up. And since I left the people that I was working with, and we started this, and Neil and all the gang and Liz and everybody, and we make it a much lighter show. And the figures have gone through the roof. I think people are exhausted from it, just hearing about mental health the whole time. So when something really practical that you've come up with your app, I think that's like a ray of sunshine. I think that's really important, rather than just this bullshit conversation which goes round in circles.
What's also interesting is that it's about realism, because, as you say, right, people don't need these fancy promises or things that is going to hugely change your life and stuff like that. What people want is everyday habits, as you say, Dr. Ritt, that people can just wake up and go, oh yeah, okay, and get on with their day.
Yes.
And if they have a blip in the day, oh yeah, okay. And that's I've been saying that for years. And particularly for Neil, if he goes, oh, I feel like this, okay, that's fine, no drama. Try and reset or refocus. But it doesn't have to be a big kind of oh my God, this has happened. You know, people don't need the drama anymore.
You don't need the oh my God. That's limbic system, isn't it? And the whole oh my God reaction is not particularly helpful. It sounds really reassuring to have, like, if you're like a therapist in your pocket kind of thing.
This is
Lovely
it.
phrase. That's a
knowing
lovely
that
phrase, by the way.
And knowing that someone's got your back, if you like. And it's also reassuring knowing that you've got a network that you talk to. So it expands. I suppose it could help people feel, number one, human. We touched on that earlier, because everyone's human, everyone has triggers. You know, it's allowed to have triggers, but there's also a solution. What
It's
I found
allowed.
also about the conversation about mental health was it's a bit like watching a documentary of a disaster. They tell you everything that was wrong and leave you feeling really unhappy. Yes, there's a huge problem with mental health at the moment. The end. But then, but then they wouldn't.
Yes. And here's how we're going to solve
what
it.
to do about it. There wouldn't be strategies. There wouldn't be ways to address it. But I think that's what you're giving in a very bite-sized way for time-poor people, frankly.
Absolutely. So what it is, you know, it's giving people the strategies who might not have access to me. Firstly, at a very low cost. So it's I'll finish going through it.
Please do.
Yeah, so then throughout the week, what you'll get is ad hoc messages from me, which will be in the form of voice notes. So they'll either be mindfulness exercises, pep talks, or therapy tools for like confidence, self-esteem building, those sorts of things. Links to recent articles and research that I have access to that I found have been really useful for things like habit formation, affirmations, gratitude, neuroscience, all that stuff. And then the great thing about it is I use neuroscience in this because it forms a repetitive nature every evening. So again, what I tended to find is people get to the end of the day and that's where the intrusive thoughts kick in, the negative thoughts kick in. I should have done this. I shouldn't have said that. I wish I did this. I've got to do this tomorrow. So they go to bed sometimes in a bit of a heightened state, which doesn't set them up with the best parameters for bedtime, for sleeping, for really restoring the brain back to where it needs to be for the morning. Nice. So at the end of the day, you get 3 messages. So the first one is, so you can either choose to have a 7 p.m. or 9 p.m. reflection. So the first one is,
you do sort of 11:30 for the espresso time. That's what that would... Am I being too niche? I'm being too needy. I understand. Okay.
We're always open to feedback. So the first message.
Great. That's my feedback. 11 o'clock when I have my.
Do you mean morning or evening?
In the morning. Morning. I'm just coming to.
Sorry, Dr. Ritz,
you know, what are you grateful for? What are the bits throughout your day that you haven't actually focused on, that you've just shrugged off and you've not made time to really let it fall and land on you?
Why do we have this negativity bias? Why is it that a radio station dedicated to mental health, which the world is crying out for, is like, no, don't really want it? Why is it they've tried to do newspapers, which are good news newspapers, and it's failed? Why do people want bad news? And why? Is it because we want to say, oh, my life's not so bad? Because
my house hasn't burnt down. My day's not so terrible then.
Is it that
control thing? I think it's, you know, what you're really talking about there is threat. And threat comes from anxiety, and anxiety is all about not being in control. And so when we talk about being in control in psychology and in therapy, it's not actually about, right, let's find all the solutions to be in control. It's more about managing uncertainty and learning how to tolerate uncertainty within yourself. That even, yes, if the world is on fire, how do you create safety within yourself?
Because when you look at all the meditative paths and all that sort of thing, it's all about what's inside yourself, isn't it? It's all about. I was listening to Dr. Michael Mosley, who we lost tragically last year.
Yeah,
but he as a scientist, as a doctor and a scientist, as yourself, he's talking about, you know, this place inside yourself. It's almost like psychology and spirituality have sort of met. And even you use the word attract and you know, and focus. All of these things I've heard in all of these disciplines, not just one or the other. It used to be never the twain shall meet, body, mind, spirit. You know, it's doctor holistic. For a body, mind a shrink, and a spirit your priest. No, it's all melded now, isn't it? It's all. Yeah. Am I right?
Yeah.
Well, not just that. It doesn't have to be overwhelming either. It's like people this time of year, you think about it, lots of people desire, I've got to get fit, got to lose weight, got to do this, blah, blah, blah. Yes, Mark, I am aware of that because I was inputting into it earlier today.
ambiguous, isn't
I
it?
was, it's if it's more in bite sizes, and we apply this these days to everything. Since Mark mentioned the BBC has a thing for exam revision called bite size, rather than have this massive document of here's what you need to know for your GCSE in one big file. It can be overwhelming for a young person, a teenager. Here's a little bit at a time, and the same can be applied to your mental health or your exercise or any jobs you have to do. People are trying to do their tax returns at the moment. And even Neil was moaning the other day, oh, God, it's really annoying. Oh, I spent all afternoon. It's like, yeah, break it down a bit.
He's very, very wealthy with all his business things.
I wish. So I tell you what, Dr. Rich, you mentioned to me when we talked on email, Brian, I'll come back to your question, that you had about half an hour. Is that right? So I don't want to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have to get going? It's fine if you do.
I could probably do about another 15 minutes, to be honest.
All right, well, take us through. I'll tell you what, if me, Russ, and Liz just shut up and stop asking questions, because you were explaining.
It's only because we're interested.
I know, but take us, just sum up the app again, where people can find it and what it does, just to,
Yeah,
without us interrupting.
Sure, absolutely. Let me start with that. So I said, in the morning, what you get is the affirmation that helps you to really think about the type of day you want to have, set your intention for the day. And then throughout the week, you get these prompts, which are, videos or voice notes about helping you to build your confidence, your self-esteem, mindfulness, to slow down, to stop, to take stock, and links to research and articles. And then in the evening, what you get is the 3 messages. So the first message is actually, what are you grateful for? Tell me 3 things that have gone well today that you're really proud of, that you've overlooked. Then the second message is, what's your 1% improvement for tomorrow? So this is kind of what Liz was saying, let's not overhaul your life overnight, because actually that's just going to lead to failure and making you feel worse about yourself. But that's that 1% that you can improve on for tomorrow. So let's say, it's January, everyone's like, I want to be healthier. And you end up having that treat, you end up having that chocolate or that ice cream, whatever it is it might be, rather than getting to the end of the day and going, oh, why did you do that? You knew you weren't meant to have that chocolate and you did it anyway. You're just useless. You can't do anything, can you? And you have that negative narrative running through your head. And actually, what I would encourage you to do is to bring self-compassion here and to say to yourself, I had that treat. I'm a grown-up. I had that treat and I fancied it. And you know what? I enjoyed it. I actually really enjoyed it. But tomorrow when I fancy the treat, because the likelihood is I'm going to want another one, rather than going for the chocolate, what's my 1% improvement? Well, actually, I'll have a protein bar laced with a bit of chocolate, or I'll have a date dipped in peanut butter or, Nutella, whatever it might be. So it's not these big overhaul life changes of I'm getting rid of all the chocolate in the house. I'm only buying fruit. And if I want chocolate, I'm going to have the apple. It's just not going to last. It's about marginal gains here and those 1% improvements.
And they do add up, don't they?
They do add up. And the great thing about it all is, even if you miss it, you haven't undone all the hard work. When we think about habit formation that's happening in the brain and the neural pathways that you have the ability to rewire and build yourself up for success because of something called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. When you miss a few days, you don't go back to day one. You go back to where you started. Isn't that fantastic to know?
Yes, and it doesn't seem that way. What I found when I was in my healing process is that if I had a wobble, let's call it a limbic system fire up, and the voice of the inner critic, I call it, it seems like, it feels like all the work you've done is for naught, but that isn't true.
No,
it isn't true. It feels like it's true. I don't know if there's science behind that or whatever, but it's not. You do go back to the point you last left it. It's not.
It feels like it's true because we all have these negative core beliefs that we hold about ourselves, which is I'm not good enough, I'm useless, I'm a failure. So when we do those, we use that as evidence to say to ourselves, see, look, I couldn't even do this. That just shows me I'm not good enough, I'm useless, I'm a failure. And then that just drives that repetitive cycle.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's it. That's
Also,
it.
I read some science about the reticular activation system, which basically looks for what we're looking for. So if we're looking for failure, we will find, if we're looking for proof that the world's a terrible place, we will find that evidence. If we buy a new red car, we'll see that new red car everywhere. However, there's the opposite as well. This is why all the books say you get more of what you focus on. Focus on what you do want, not what you don't. So it's much better to focus on that 1% improvement, which does add up and gain momentum, I would have thought, than the 99% that you didn't do, if that makes sense. And then you will look for a self-fulfilling prophecy. You will see things to back up that new story, the new narrative you're telling, right?
Let's come back to this, because it's a very important subject for a lot of people, especially as we get older. And from Brian. Touching on loss, this app sounds good for people who are grieving and unable to pull themselves through grief without help. Would that be true?
Absolutely. I think it gives people who are going through grief an anchor, because with grief, it's not something that you learn to get rid of. It's something that you learn how to live with it.
100%. I've written about this
Yes.
a lot.
100%. I've said that so many times as well. It was because of something my mum said, who's now herself gone physically, that she says you never, particularly of a parent, if you're close and everything, you never completely get over it. You just learn to deal with it better as each day goes along. And why should you get rid of it totally? You know, my mum's was with me my whole life. She was there at the start, and she was never not there. And suddenly she's physically not there. You're not going to get over that in 5 minutes. You're with somebody long term, whether it's a parent, a partner, a sibling. You know, it's one step at a time. It's back to the not having to deal with the whole package all at once. One step at a time, one bit at a time.
When we were addressing a grief dilemma on I have a podcast with with a psychologist that I work with. He's one of my very good friends. And she said something so profound during this podcast that has always stuck with me. But she said, isn't loss the cost we pay to love?
Yeah, grief is. Grief is the price we pay for love. It's a phrase I use a lot. And I have to say to my clients as well, you know, that's it. If you're not grieving, then you've got to think, well, why not?
It's that old fridge magnet thing, isn't it? It is better to have loved and lost than never loved at all, I guess. What I found with the grief journey, I know some of the people watching this are experiencing that at the moment. For their privacy, I won't name them unless they choose to name themselves on the screen. But I found it. You think you're all right? Yeah, I'm all right. I've got this. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Bang! And then suddenly, out of nowhere, it floors you. And then the inner critic kicks in and, absolute nightmare. But what I found was, through in the healing process, it gets less intense, less regular, and less long. So it'll either happen with much greater gaps between it, or if it does happen, it won't be as intense, or if it does happen, it won't last as long, if you know what I mean, or a combination of those, and it slowly sort of fades into the background. I'm not disagreeing with anything the other three of you have said, but that's been my experience of it. Less regular, less intense, less long. I suppose.
But it never goes away completely.
No, never. I wrote a chapter for a book, Dr. Ritz, and I headed it, There's No Statute of Limitations on Grief. Because I think people beat themselves up. They set themselves really unrealistic goals, which comes right back to everything that you've been saying throughout the conversation.
And that's the final question you get is actually, what's your one goal for tomorrow? So not like a massive list of goals, but what's your one goal that you know that if you actually achieved it, and it's probably going to take you, 2 minutes to start it, and maybe hopefully not much longer to complete this goal. What's your one goal that if you did it, it's going to give you a sense of mastery. It's going to give you a sense of achievement. It's going to then drive momentum to then focus on other things. And then I'm not then going and saying do those other things, but it's about that one goal for tomorrow.
It's all about self-belief.
It's all on WhatsApp. Yeah. Even if you think, I won't respond to that message, or I'll let it go, because you keep getting it. It follows that repetitive nature. And then
yes. My problem with setting goals is I try and do it all at once.
Yeah.
I'm going to change every aspect of my
do it.
life. I'm going to get fit. I'm
Every
gonna
which way
meditate,
but stop.
I'm going to eat properly. I'm going to balance my karma from previous lives. I'm going to align my chakras. I'm going to do it all in a day. And then of course I failed dismally. So what I've decided to do
Yes,
this year.
you know why? Because you're only human, and that's allowed.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you for the kindness. And what I've done this year, Dr. Ritz, is I've broken the goals down into monthly increments. So January, it's all about health and fitness, nothing else. Then February, something else, and then March, something else. Rather than trying to do it all at once.
But I think get even more, like, narrow it down further, because what does health and fitness mean? So is it like running 10K? Is it cooking fresh meals? So that's what I mean.
You haven't met Neil, have you?
Narrow it down into something that I would call a SMART goal.
Specific, measurable.
Sorry.
That one.
Yeah, specific, measurable, achievable, relatable, and time-bound.
Time-bound, yeah. Right.
I find that I'm going to ask quick. Well, yes, Graham's asking, how long do people use your app for?
Hopefully for as long as they need. So it's the first 60 days are free, because on average it takes around 66 days to form a habit, and this is all about it becoming a habit. I want it to be, as we said, brain flossing. Just how you have good dental hygiene, start to have good mental hygiene. You wouldn't think about not brushing your teeth twice a day. It's your non-negotiable. I want this app to, I want Reflect with Dr. Ritz to become people's non-negotiables, that over time, somebody said it to me the other day when I bumped into them, and they said, oh, even though I don't necessarily even respond to the messages, when that 9 o'clock notification comes in, that just tells me, right, it's time to wind down now. It's time to start ending your day. And rather than building, do this tomorrow, do that. Actually, let's just bring it back down, consolidate the day, and bring more balance to it, and get ready.
And I think after a while of doing anything repetitively, it goes unconscious, doesn't it? Just like our bad habits do. And it's almost like an instant trigger. Beep, beep, up, bang.
Like muscle memory, really, isn't it?
Straight away, like a trigger, like an anchor, which is...
Are you aware of the habit loop in the brain?
Tell me.
So, what we see is that your brain loves patterns. So when you repeat the same habit in response to the same cue, like these messages at 6 a.m. or 9 p.m. every day, what you're going to see is that every time you respond, every time you say the affirmation, every time you tell yourself what you're grateful for, what's your improvement, what's your goal, it strengthens the habit loop. So it makes that routine much more easier to follow. And so every time you complete the habit, your brain is going to release dopamine. That's that feel-good hormone, makes you feel good about yourself. And so over a longer period of time, that's how you start to see these small wins lead to much bigger changes due to neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
And that's where you've probably got to leave it, I should imagine, because of your
time. I do. I'm afraid I've got another.
It's almost like so it's drrikita.co.uk.
Yeah.
Dr. Ritz for sure. I love that. And it's where people can get this app. That's all on the website, is it?
Absolutely. So even if you just type in Reflect with Dr. Ritz, you'll find it. It's free to sign up for 60 days, and then it's cheaper than a monthly coffee, $2.99 a month.
Well, that's
excellent.
That's very good.
For well-being, that's nothing,
good.
Is it?
Yeah,
that's absolutely nothing.
I don't want
a little pick me up.
I wish you well.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for finding time in your schedule.
Thank you, Dr. Ritz.
Say that again. I'm sorry, I missed all that. Say it again.
Can I take a picture for my socials?
We'd be honoured and privileged.
I can do better than that. I'll send you this footage if you like, and you can.
Oh, fantastic!
And you can use it for any purposes you like. But by all means, take a picture. Yeah.
I'll just take a quick one now. Thank you.
And this program will be online to watch again as soon as it's finished. So.
Oh, fantastic! I will share it on all my socials as well.
Yes,
okay. And I'll WeTransfer over as soon as the program's finished. I can download it and I'll WeTransfer it straight over to you. Then you can chop it up and keep it and use what.
Look at him, Tommy Tech.
I know.
God,
you can sort out the renewals as well that keep popping up.
All the best, Dr.
Thank
Ritz.
you so much.
Dr. Ritz, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ritz.
So whenever you want me, just let me know.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you soon then.
Bye.
Bye.
What a charming person. We like her a lot. I've got the wrong configuration here. There we go.
That was very insightful.
No, she's still there. She's still there.
Oh,
There she is. You haven't gone yet. Oh, she's gone now.
There we go.
Right. Okay, that was good.
No, that was very
That was very good.
insightful. And I think what's important to summarise is to sort of, that it doesn't have to be everything all at once, as Neil alluded to, and that also people can pick their own pace. And it is, grief, for example, is very individual. Your exercise routine is very individual. Even if people who are time poor, as Dr. Ritz said, you know, you can still respond to it, be very individual. I mean, I've had a madness of work going on. You know, there I was thinking, oh, post-festive season, it'll calm down a bit. I'll have a few days off. Don't believe a word of it. It's ridiculous. I've been at work again this morning. I've got tomorrow off, but I've got to pick my cousin up from the airport at stupid o'clock in the morning, you know, and things like this. So I think to myself, actually, this month or these few weeks, I'm going to keep up my fitness by doing HIIT exercises, because that only takes 20 minutes out of your day, but you burn a lot of calories because it's high intensity. That's it. And you can make it fun. Hey?
I've been going to the park and doing that. 3 minutes high intensity, then a break. 3 minutes high intensity, then a break.
But it looks like you've lost a bit of weight.
You can do it from the comfort of your own home as well.
No, in your face. In your face. I'm serious.
How long is it now since you stopped drinking?
What?
Yeah, I'm on dry January.
He's doing dry January. So what will be 13th of January? That'll be 13 days then, almost 2 weeks. Well done.
13 days.
Are you serious? You haven't had a drink in 13 days?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Taking loads of drugs, though.
I did very well with dry January. I got to lunch on January the 1st, and then the Bloody Marys just seemed to arrive. So that was that.
Oh, dear. Did you patch up the wounds?
It was magic. They just appeared on the table like God had sent them.
I've had a double spiced rum this year, and that's it. Because I've been working. Mark's very kind of you to say, yes, I was indeed working all over Christmas and New Year, mostly reading the news, but shooing people around as well in more senior roles. So, yes.
Some of the other comments. Kimmy, Brian King's for the month of walking home again. Yeah, get rid of that. Kimmy.
I don't understand that
great,
one.
and I'm meditating every day as well.
Yes,
I had a great day until I messaged my daughter and told her who was out at the Traitors when she hadn't seen it. Stayed awake most of the night with guilt. I wouldn't feel too guilty about that.
I don't feel guilty, but actually I do know the group of people I know that watch the Traitors. Some of them watch it at different times just because of, you know, like childcare responsibilities and things like that. So I always say, are you watching it live or have you seen it yet, before I get into a conversation about it? Myself and my best mate so far have managed to each watch it live. Although I didn't on Friday, so I had to catch up with it on Saturday. But no, it's great fun. Your favourite, Russ, Claudia Winkleman.
I know, the future Mrs. Kane. She doesn't know it, obviously. I don't want to, scare her away.
Do you like her? You got a crush on her?
Oh, I think she's fine.
Didn't you know?
Yeah,
no.
I love Claudia.
Yeah, look at it.
She's your Claire from Steps, is she?
What? She's
he fancies Claire from Steps.
God, we were on tour with Steps once. Moving on. Anyway, did a little tour with them all over the country. Yeah, Claudia, she's great, but she's not Eva Green.
Eva Green,
the actress, Eva Green.
Oh yes,
or Monica Bellucci. That's top of the tree.
I like Tom Hiddleston. I liked him even more after he showed his bum in The Night Manager. So
that's very rude.
Oh, him and his tighty whities. I remember that. Yes.
No, they weren't even tighty whities. It's bare bottom, Neil.
Steady on. Now, Neil, this is very exciting. This is a whole new look for you. Not only are you looking slimmer.
What, just because he's had a haircut?
No, not just that as well. It's this whole in a room with a mirror. I mean, you've moved your setup. If you move your setup, what's the deal here?
Who's there?
I'm just in a different room, and I've decided to get fit and healthy in January and do other things in other months of the year. I even recharged my Fitbit up. Got my Fitbit on now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I just have bracelets.
That's it.
Do you know what? I can't wear. I jest, but I can't. I've never been able to wear a watch, no matter how fancy, expensive, and newfangled it is.
Right.
There's something in my wrist; it just doesn't keep time. So a Fitbit is sadly doing the same.
We can't let that slide. But Neil, she's gone mad. I'll just keep it talking. Call the police. What is it about? You put a watch on your wrist, it doesn't work.
It doesn't keep time. Within about, I've got a lovely watch that my dad and stepmom bought me in America about 20 years ago, and I just use it as an accessory, as a
You're
nice
like the
looking
Uri Geller of Surrey.
basically.
It's just weird.
I put a watch on, even if it's got a brand new battery. The time's 5 minutes out within a day. So, oh dear, what are we looking at?
That's a nice view.
I know. It's a bit scary.
Sorry.
I haven't had my lunch yet. Bloody hell, Neil.
Meatballs and
There you go.
Obviously for this. I don't need a Fitbit. I have a wife that just says, move your ass, you're lazy.
Oh, who rattled his cage?
Brian, the theory, while this is... I love the way we've gone from Dr. Rich, who's really intellectual, to this complete shambles. It's the electricity that flows through you, stopping it from working.
Yes.
Who were Mrs. Yeah, I think that some sort of
I jest about it, but it is something to do with magnetic pulses, and some people have a magnetic pulse. It just attracts the magnetism. Yes. Can you stop showing us your crotch, Neil? It's very disconcerting.
I wasn't. Sorry, I was just doing something.
We do have a large female. We have a large female viewership, and I think Neil is playing to his audience.
Yes,
I find it very.
He's also playing with fire.
Yeah, leave it. I think it's very admirable that you set up goals and things. I've set up absolutely nothing. Not because I know I'm destined to fail in those things, but I never go, hey, it's new year, new me. I never do that. It's just the same stuff. The date's different. So I'd be realistic about it. I write my lists every day. I write my list of what I got to get through that day. And I find it fantastic.
Now, do you get through your list, though? Because, Neil, you're both list boys. You write very enthusiastic lists. How successful in your lists are you both?
100%.
Yeah,
Not bad.
Neil?
Not bad. But I've got a process here, which I read in a book, and I'm going to share with you. Okay. It's one of these university things. Okay.
Okay.
All right. It's called the placemat process. Now, you have to be feeling emotionally reasonable to do this. If you're in depression or despair or anger, don't do it. It won't work. But if you're kind of above that and you're feeling sort of a bit overwhelmed, it's a good one for overwhelm, because the feeling we're always reaching for here is relief. Right. So what you do, ease, relief. Okay. That doesn't mean not take any action. It doesn't mean be lazy. It just means have an attitude of ease about things rather than, if I may, dis-ease or struggle. Get a piece of paper and down the middle, draw a line. On the left-hand side, as you're looking at it, down the left-hand side, you write everything that you're going to do that day. On the right-hand side, what you want the universe to do that day. And then leave that to the universe, feel the relief of letting it go, and get on and do your things. And apparently, people that have done that have found, shall we say, things unfolding very well before them. And
no, I'm not going to make some silly joke. I am genuinely...
I'm being serious.
Confused. No, I know that. So I'm not going to do something silly. I'm genuinely confused. How do you decide? Because I find it fascinating. If it worked, I would grab it with both hands. Explain to me how this works. And not how it works, because that you have to be God to do that, or whatever you believe in. How do you decide what goes on the left and what goes on the right column?
You choose.
Yeah. And I would suggest there are probably some things that you think, well, I'd love for that to happen, but it's a bit outside my control. So if you think that, why not stick it in the universe column and see what happens?
And you ask how it works. By turning it over to the universe, you're activating a state of relief and entering your parasympathetic nervous system. In doing that, your whole body, mind, holistic system will relax, and it will increase your vibration to be more receptive rather than one in stress. Rather, you have one in ease. And in doing that, by putting it over to the universe's side, you feel relief and are much more open and receptive to what the universe can give you. You did ask how it worked, and I just told you.
So what would you ask? What would you... I'm loving this. But I don't know if it's bonkers or...
Try it.
Well,
Try it for a week.
It's not clever. Well, I wouldn't know what to ask the universe for. I know what I've got.
Well, no, it's not specifically thinking, oh, what do I ask the universe? Say you've got a list of to-do things, and some of those things you think, oh, well, in order to achieve that, I've got to speak to so-and-so, I've got to wait for this, I've got to do that.
Yes.
Instead of worrying about the hows and whys and wherefores, stick it in the universe side column and leave it.
Right. It's about the hows. If there's stuff you've got to do, I mean, the universe isn't going to dry clean your trousers for you. But
especially when they look like nails.
Stop it.
But if you something that you don't know, I want to get some more clients at the moment. Now, I've never known where clients are going to come from. I advertise, sometimes I don't, and they come. I don't know where that comes from, so I don't want to stress about that. So I put that over to the right hand side, to the universe's side.
You see, my problem with that is, because I'm a meat and potatoes guy, I would like more clients, put it that way, right? But if I'm not proactive and going out to see people to enlarge the business,
nobody says you won't do that. It's not a question of sitting on your bum and waiting for the magical fairies to dump it in front of you, but you might get an idea, particularly if you're feeling in a relaxed, open state, for someone to ring, to look up something on the internet, to answer that particular text message rather than that one. And it unfolds that way. And if you're open and receptive to it, you're much more likely to see it. Right?
Yeah, I guess.
It's not saying sit on your bum. Oh, if I'm thinking about a Ferrari, there's one in the drive. No, it's not.
No,
that
I mean,
all.
this is, yes, it's where you draw the line, isn't it? Brian says it's like writing your problems on a bit of paper, burning it and letting that problem go. Well, all right. Well, let me give you a specific. I've got a lockup miles away. It's huge, and it's costing me a fortune every month. And I've got to go through hundreds of boxes from various moves to sort it out. I'd love to put it on the right-hand side. Oh, universe, please sort this for me, because it's
do it and see what happens.
Well,
because you may find that, I don't know, just as for example, out of nowhere, the storage company might say, we're doing an offer, we'll help you sort out your boxes, and so you can renew your whatever or reduce your space, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You don't know. I was reading an email this morning from a guy. He's really spiritual, but he deals with very kind of down to earth subjects. Yeah. And people have just put it out there, asked for help, put it over to the right hand side, however you want to put it. And there's incredible stories. But the thing is, these people have to trust and let go. There's no point in putting it over to the right hand side and then saying, oh, but I've still got to do it. You put it on the right, you leave it there. You put it on the back burner and you just get on with what's in front of you. But apparently it works really, really well. Let's give it a go. Let's do an experiment. Anyone watching? Any of the presenters? Let's try it.
Well, Graham has suggested you can help Russ sort his boxes out, which is quite amusing.
Damn the universe.
Here's an interesting one for you, Russ. Here's a way of sorting it out. You've just suggested. What do I do about it?
Well, the thing is, Brian, you're absolutely right. I haven't seen it for some of it for years. I don't even know what's there. And not all of it's mine. So I can't just get rid of, it's not a declutter. I did declutter. I don't want to get into it. It's such a thing. I don't want to get into it. A
good process, if I can use the word decluttering, is get 26 boxes and mark them A to Z. All right. Yeah. And then go through all the boxes and sort them that way. So it's easy. You're not frightened of losing stuff, but it's a lot more tidy, and then your mind will be more tidy. So guitar strings go in G along with G strings, Mankini goes in M, pictures go in P, that sort of thing.
I don't see how that could be soothing. Mankini,
well done. I agree. It could be cathartic. It could be cathartic. What would be cathartic is just going away. It plays on my mind. But
that's the thing.
Thank
you
you for
put
watching.
It into that universal box, then
Yeah, I'm going to put it on, and that'll cathartic. But the other
Do you
stuff.
know
is
what? There's some things that are surprising. I'm fairly certain that Neil will be able to help me with this one. There's a book by a spiritualist called Everyday Miracles. And it's about, again, putting things into bite-sized chunks that are easier to deal with. You're ruminating over this massive storage facility and loads of boxes. Go and look at it. Put it in that column. And just see what happens, and you may find that this is just full of
I'll tell you
pants.
what will happen. That the storage company will keep sending me their invoices every month.
Well, if you don't want that, then
Well, I don't want it.
There's some novel. I think we've had a couple of ideas come up just in this hour.
It's nice.
So.
No, it's nice. It'll take a dedicated amount of just full on time to do it. I think Nikki would love the mankini packed away. Yeah, I don't have a.
Yes, Neil's worn his mankini to work.
Oh God, have you?
Yes.
Oh, once as a dare, yes.
Oh dear God.
Ooh. Yes, and Nikki is still traumatized by it. Nikki is his co-presenter on Radio Jackie.
Oh,
Breakfast.
that poor woman. That I've met her at your home, and what a poor woman.
She's a lovely lady.
She is, and she didn't deserve that. Or alternatively, the other side of the coin, were you spoiling her?
I don't think so. She gets enough love at home.
Says you. We don't know.
Now, boys.
That gang, I know nothing about her at all. I just met her as an hello, nice to meet you. How do you do? Thank you so much. Once again, our love goes out to everybody in California. Geez, it is shocking. I hope they get it under control, and then I hope they never let it.
So do I. Family are safe so far, but the weather is all over the place.
It's just, and the feed from people that I know, the people you've been to their homes, you know exactly where it is, and so it doesn't become something like it's not theoretical. It's like some of the shots. I go, well, I've driven down that street so many times. I used to go there and things like that. Anyway, and the people who are the two things to come out of this briefly. Got to go. Two things is one. It's not all about the stars. The stars are multimillionaires, and though it's tragic that they've lost their possession, it's the memorabilia, but it's the people who are not stars, the people who don't have millions in the bank, that it's the worst. Yeah, it's tragedy for everybody because everyone is a human being, but it's not about this star's lost it. Those stars are, on a human level is horrible, but on a financial level, they can bounce back. The people who have nothing, they're the people who are absolutely screwed. And in America, there is no safety net. You're either okay or you're on the street. That's it. Not like Britain. Not like Britain. And I just hope they sort it out if they can. Liz, lovely to see you. As
and
always.
You, both of you.
Neil, I mean this. I know the way I say it sounds so sarcastic. I don't mean. I'm really genuine. It's not meant to be patronizing. So impressed what you've done for January. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Bloody marvelous.
Only another 170 days of January to go.
Stop it.
It seems like it. Yeah. I gave up drink. I gave up drugs. I gave up cake. I gave up loose women. I didn't live any longer. It just bloody felt like it.
And on that deeply philosophical note is where we leave it. Neil Longie Long, the king of NLP, will be back on Wednesday.
I'll see you
then. God bless. Take care.
See you.
Bye, gang.